Hello, artists. I have a question for you. Have you found yourself overwhelmed and unable to set intentional goals or create structure in the middle of your everyday life? Or maybe you're feeling uncertain about how to break through and stand out in your field. Maybe you're in a dry spell where you're lacking creative motivation and inspiration. Or maybe you're just craving community with like-minded individuals. If that sounds like you, welcome. You have found the right place for you. I'm not sure how you heard about us, whether you saw me on Fox 2 News, read about me in Streetscape magazine, or maybe you're one of my fabulous students, hello, or maybe you randomly stumbled across this podcast on your morning jog. If that's you, props to you, because running is not my thing. No matter how you heard about us, welcome. Grab a seat, grab a cup of coffee, grab some tea, whatever your preference is, and make yourself at home. While you do that, I'm going to explain a little bit about who I am, what I do, and my heart for Own Your Voice podcast and what that means for you. So let's dive right in.
Welcome to Own Your Voice, the personal and professional development podcast for today's creative artists. Grab a chair and join us. We saved you a seat at the table. Now, here's your host, Gabrielle Stahlschmidt.
My name is Gabrielle Stahlschmidt, and I own and run a voice studio called Gabrielle Stahlschmidt Studio of Music in St. Louis. Now, in order to kind of understand how I got here, we're going to rewind a little bit, and I'm going to tell you about why I decided to become a teacher. So for me, teaching was kind of a dream that I grew into. I grew up my whole life in the performance world. I mean, at this point, performance is kind of my middle name. You know, I grew up in theater, in competitions, in choirs. I was into songwriting, and I recorded an album in Nashville, Tennessee, and then toured around St. Louis with that album. And then college hit, and I decided that I wanted to do a little bit more with my life than just perform. And I knew I was passionate about community. I knew I was passionate about that one-on-one ability to be able to impact people. And so teaching was really the natural progression for me. And music just offers such an incredible opportunity to be able to reach people on a very personal level and to unite them. So that very well played into the aspect of community that I was seeking. And that's really my heart for my studio, is to offer that community to St. Louis and bring a lot of musical opportunities to St. Louis. So that is why we offer community masterclasses and workshops. And I encourage my students to get out there and share their gifts in the community as often as possible. And that really lends itself to Own Your Voice and what that's all about. There's a lot that I have discovered in being a performer and being a teacher. When you train the voice, whenever you are learning who you are as an artist, it really stems from who you are as a person inside. I mean, the way that we approach songs, music theater or otherwise, any song, anything that has lyrics, we are bringing our experiences, our beliefs, our hopes, our dreams to that song, and that's how we choose to interpret what we're singing. So when I say discovering your voice, I mean also discovering your internal voice. And we talk a lot here about having an empowered voice, and what does that mean? So a lot of having an empowered voice has to do with how we speak to ourselves, how we communicate with those around us, and then how we decide to translate that into our creative arts and the kind of impact that we want to leave on the world behind us through our art. So that's really what it means to me to have an empowered voice, and to encourage my students to have a healthy voice that starts internally so that they can have a healthy voice externally. Now, that doesn't mean here on the podcast that all you'll hear is, motivational sayings and inspirational quotes, although there will be some of that from me, because that is so much my heart behind music, is that it is an inspiration, that it is a way to reach people on that deep level. But you will also hear entrepreneurial advice. You will discover how to break through in your field, but also stand out and remain true to who you are yourself as an artist. So you will always be proud of who you are and represent yourself well without feeling like you have to conform to some cookie cutter version of what you think you need to do in order to be successful. And from time to time, we will have incredible guest artists coming on and speaking to us. It could be about a variety of topics, topics in the music world. For instance, it could be on songwriting or music tech or performance and so on and so forth. And they are going to explain and share little tips and tricks and secrets about their success, how they broke into what they're doing in their field, what they're doing to stand out in their field, and give you a little bit more insight into each of those avenues for you so that you can learn about maybe something new in the music world, or maybe you are unsure of what a certain field looks like and you want to pursue it and you need a little bit more information. Maybe you're thinking about going off to college and you're not exactly sure what to major in. This information is going to be so incredibly helpful to you. Also, Own Your Voice is meant to be a community. It's meant to be a support to you, a networking opportunity for you, and something, where we're kind of inviting you into our living room here. We're just having a chat about all things music, but also all things empowering, and how to use your voice to make a difference in your community, and how to use music to unite each other, which is so needed in today's world. So I hope that you will also, support us and tune in and listen and enjoy the things that we have to offer. And absolutely feel free to comment and let us know what you want to hear about on this podcast, because first and foremost, it is for you. I am beyond excited for what is coming on this podcast and for the community that is arising around this podcast and the implications that it has for you as a modern creative artist. I am excited to support you and see how far you will go with your voice. And I'm excited for you to tune in from week to week and listen to all of the opportunities that are presented here and gain some insight from our guest artists, and to stay motivated to continue on your path and to discover, grow, and own your voice well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I cannot wait to see you next time.
To learn more about the Own Your Voice podcast or to join the growing community, visit GabrielleStudioofMusic.com and the Own Your Voice podcast on Instagram. As always, remain committed to owning the power of your unique voice, because what you have to say, both musically and personally, is much too important not to be heard.